Hello, everyone. I'm Jenny and I'm an astrologer and an energy healer. I had a few questions and comments and emails that I haven't answered, so I'm going to just take a minute to do that. So, when I do sessions with people, when I look at the chart, I am seeing your subconscious stories or events, situations that have unfolded in the past that are influencing you now. I learned energy healing at the same time that I learned my own chart. And so I'm able to, I don't know how, no one taught me, how to do it, but I can see the past lives. And so in our initial session, we go through and pull out those stories. Pulling out the stories means all of the negative energy or the energy that's still like in separation or believes that there is separation from the divine. And so a lot of that has to do with resentments that we've held on to, but they're not conscious programs. They're the subconscious programs that we work with. And of course, I do that with Metatron. I was doing healings when I was a child and I was in the church. And I kind of had to go through energy healing courses to be unchurched so that I could work in a cleaner way with the vibration of creation. And so I hold space in the follow up sessions. I hold space, and then you go and look into previous experiences or other timelines. Time is happening all at once. So you go and take a look. It's sort of like Metatron is saying, opening that window and allowing you to see or to witness what is taking place. All of our stories are stored in the DNA. And so when we do cleaning with the DNA, we remove those stories, and then he gives new downloads that change the story and the perspective of whoever I'm working on. And in my courses, it's the same thing. Just because it isn't a one-on-one session, it's still taking place. Sometimes then situations will come up, especially after we do any kind of big healing like we do in our initial session, to challenge those downloads, because always when we hold on to negative subconscious patterns, it's because an aspect of us who had an experience that we don't know until we go back and look and see what it was, believes that there is a gain. I once watched someone on YouTube who talked about their mother all the time as kind of like this person that they had to carry and do so many things for. We went back and looked at a past life, and we're doing that healing, and they sort of they did interrupt me and kind of took the reins, because that pattern of guilt that they have for whatever reason with their mother was serving them to keep martyring themselves for her. So we, usually we'll go into one past life, and that will lead to another experience, to another experience. It could have been your own experience or that of the ancestors. When it's in the DNA, it doesn't feel any different. It feels like as if it's our own. So I wanted to take a moment to explain that. And again, thank you everybody for your concern for Bailey. We were in the hospital a couple of weeks ago, just a short stay, an overnight stay. She had the worst seizure that she's ever had, but we hopefully now have corrected her medication and everything else that she has to take care of that. And so far, 2 weeks now, we have not had any incidents. So anyway, I appreciate everyone's concern, and thank you for that. So we're coming into the eclipse season. I should say, because a lot of you have had issues with my internet, that the internet whisperer visited my house this morning. I have so many internet technicians' phone numbers now. They're all very nice. They asked me to call if there's an issue, but I think this person solved it. It was actually just the cord that was hooked up to my modem. supposedly that issue was taken care of. So let's hope so. Um, but yeah, so we're coming. This week was also, I want to say, congratulations to everyone because it was tough astrology this week. I'm not going to talk about the Venus star point moving to 29 of Libra. Doesn't really have like a global effect. It's more how it depends on your chart, how that is going to play out. So, and I know there's a lot of information about that. It hasn't been here since 1879. But like I said, if you have like a house that starts at 29 Libra or a planet at 29 Libra, it's significant for you. And it also, of course, depends on where your Venus star point is. You can find that through a search engine just by entering your date of birth. You can find out what degree your Venus star point is. I once said that Oprah Winfrey and Ellen DeGeneres, they both have their suns at their Venus star point. And some people that, didn't like it that I brought them up, but, just a fact. It's a mathematical fact. And it's relatively new Venus star point that we started looking at. I posted something on the Facebook group page, an interview with Ariel Gutman. If you want to take a look at that, she was on the astrology podcast with Chris Brennan. I like Chris very much. We share a birthday. And yeah, so if you want to look at that for more information about it. But otherwise, all of us are about to experience the partial solar eclipse that happens at 2 degrees, really on the nose, 2 degrees of Scorpio. That is going to take place in London. I always do the charts for London, the universal time. That is going to be at 11:48 a.m. on the 25th of October. All of us, it's the 25th of October. Central Standard Time, 5:48 a.m. And then in Sydney, it's 9:48 p.m. So 48. Fours are typically kind of rough change. And then 8, you get the infinity symbol where everything is just flowing along as it's supposed to be. The eclipse will be visible in Europe, Southwest Asia, Northeast Africa, and the Atlantic Ocean. It is a partial solar eclipse, and we should all be very grateful for that. Saturn will be stationary direct, so we'll be feeling that very strongly. Mars today on the 21st, he comes to, that's when I'm making this video. Because of the internet, I wasn't able to upload any even audio recordings this week, so I knew I wouldn't be able to upload a video. But the 21st today, Mars comes to 25 of Gemini, and that is the degree of his station. He's going to move all the way back to Aldebaran, Archangel Michael's royal fixed star. He is going to move back he's at the degree of his station on the 21st, but he's still ticking forward, just minutes forward. He actually stations to go back at 25 degrees and 37 minutes. So that happens on October 30th. And then Samhain or Halloween is when he starts moving back. And he goes back to Archangel Michael's royal fixed star of Aldebaran, which is actually part of the Taurus constellation, but falls at between 8 and 9 degrees of Gemini. So he's pretty much going all the way back through the sign of Gemini. Those of you who are Gemini rising, moon, and sun, it will be, more substantial for you in your life, but really for all of us, Mars is drive, ambition, the quest, the adventure, the forward momentum. And this is a time when we're going to kind of take a pause. So I'm going to use him because he is the traditional ruler of Scorpio. He is ruling the South Node. Remember that he was already in Gemini during Mercury's retrograde. So I hate to say, but a lot of things that came up during the Mercury retrograde, expect that a continuation of that story. I want to note that Mars moves out of bounds. So the path of the sun is the solar or the winter solstice, the summer solstice. That's the path of the sun, how far north and how far south, depending on what hemisphere you're in, at the winter or summer solstice. So when planets travel outside of the path of the sun, we call them out of bounds. And they're sort of rogue then. Uh, and he's also going to be retrograde. Like he is out of bounds his entire retrograde. He's actually out of bounds until the 22nd degree of Cancer, which he hits May 5th. It's really not unusual for Mars to be out of bounds in Cancer. I always tell people with that aspect that that's good because otherwise you get that really whiny, manipulative Mars in Cancer. But being out of bounds kind of helps with that, helps to alleviate that. Um, I know that a lot just in the ethers, and of course because it's being put out a lot, that people are worried about money and sort of acting as if they have less money. Remember that the law of attraction is always paying attention, not scaring anyone now. Because you can also just ask to cancel it and just change your focus if that's what you've been doing. But Metatron asked me to mention not to, he's saying, fall victim to that story of lack. Everybody has a story of lack in their DNA. That's absolutely everywhere, until we clean that up. So I want to just show you the chart. So the center of Sagittarius, which is the ascendant for the universal chart. Sorry, I'm holding the microphone and my notebook. So, all right, let's see. So you can see the ascendant as 15 degrees of Sagittarius. And that is what's called the Great Attractor. It's not a black hole, and it's NASA says an anomaly. So they don't really understand why, but it's hundreds of millions of light years wide, and it pulls in all of the galaxies around it. In traditional astrology, it gets a rap as being something of loss, that there is something about loss connected with it. It also is a magical manifestation point. I always tell those of you who have planets or, a point, like that would be the ascendant, a point at 15 degrees of Sagittarius or 15 of Gemini, that you really can manifest very easily. But it's so critical now that we are careful with our thoughts, especially around money. Um, just if you can change your focus, because we don't want to, that energy goes somewhere and it has an effect. And I know when a bunch of people get on, there's so many people in the spiritual community on YouTube who just watch each other and repeat the same negative information. If everyone is focusing on a huge loss of money, a huge devastating crash, that does have an effect. Of course, divine timing has something to say with that, but a lot of times too, he's saying it, when the current situation or how we earn, how we gain resources is coming to a close and another one is coming online, we can be focused on the close of, well, this is how I've always done it. What's going to happen next? And I'm not saying that I'm above that. I can feel the fear of money thing too. And a lot of you have mentioned to me, people that have never really struggled with that are having those feelings because it's out there. It's in the ethers. I mean, the media is talking about it a lot as well. I noticed just in my gas bill this month, they kind of just use this as an excuse to jack up the bill. We barely used our furnace last month, and my gas bill had a significant increase. So if you can just put your mind in the mode of, there's always been provision for me. I know there is provision for me. I'm grateful for the provision already, like future you, already there for me. So if you can just be in that mindset, that would be really helpful. But that was really the only thing that he was bringing a caution about, just to be careful of falling into the fear of going without. Venus, who rules money, is exactly at 2 degrees with the sun and the moon as well. The second degree of Scorpio, and I want to say that Venus at the time of the eclipse is in charge of Mercury. Mercury is in her sign of Libra, and he, of course, is ruling Mars. Mars, as the traditional ruler of Scorpio, there is something about money and markets and shifting in the astrology. So when you combine all of that with stationary Saturn, whenever a planet's stationary, you can really feel that energy more than others. And of course, in traditional astrology, Saturn was the great malefic, uh, and Mars is the lesser malefic. So, Saturn goes stationary, then Mars goes stationary. So, really, so important where we're focusing our thoughts. Um, but Venus, the moon, and the sun are all at 2 degrees of Scorpio. The Sabian symbol for that is a glass bottle of perfume breaking and then the perfume spilling. So something in the atmosphere. Um, Whenever I'm doing charts for people, I use the same asteroids. There is, from time to time, Metatron will tell me, put in this asteroid for this person's chart. And he does that sometimes with the astrology videos as well. He asked me to use Hygeia, who relates to health, the goddess Hygeia. Um, and it's interesting. You can see that she falls so you can see her there in the 12th house. So that's, traditionally the Pisces house. We look at that in relation to like worldwide or global pandemics. Of course, Mars rules everything, anything that has to do with pestilence, like what we used to call plagues. Um, and Hygeia is with the fixed star Ophiuchus. It has to do with doctors and the medical community. It was the Greek god that ruled doctors and medicine. So Mars is at the degree that is a winter frost in the forest. So it could be about something maybe that's dormant. He did not go into specifics. I don't know why he pointed out Hygeia, but I do know if he does that, there's a reason for it. So I don't know. I remember in October of 2019, he had me note that Mars was rising in Corvus. And I don't think I've ever talked about this on YouTube, but I believe that that is when, and of course at the time I didn't know why, but I believe that Mars rising in Corvus, which is like the bat, the blackbird, the crow kind of archetype, was when humans, when I don't want to say what it was, but when humans were exposed to that virus that eventually became a pandemic. Not saying that that's going to happen. The 12th house also deals with gases and atmosphere and the perfume bottle too. So I don't know. I mean, we do have a lot of with the permafrost, thawing now. There are a lot of things that have been dormant for so long, like that winter frost symbol that Mars is, things that are dormant coming online. I don't know. I'm not making a prediction, and this is a new moon, so that could play out in the next 2 to 3 years, honestly. But I just want to make sure that I say that because if he tells me to bring that out, then I'm going to need to say that. So, important not to be in fear, right? Think of all of the videos that went out about the horrors of what was going to come. Didn't happen. Of course, a lot of people lost their lives, and I'm not making light of that. I'm talking about the vaccine fears that were so prominent. And yeah, so, just good to keep in mind that that is going on. I talked about, of course, Saturn being stationary direct. Saturn and Uranus are finishing up their square now. And then Saturn will move forward and they will not have the square any longer, but that is still in effect. And this is about the last time probably that we're going to need to talk about it, unless we're going back to what happened. If nothing played out for you with that in 2021, then not to worry. But there could be situations that arise from 2021 that come up. Pluto is in an aspect called a quincunx with Mars. Of course, they both are ruling this solar eclipse. The south node is in Scorpio and the north node is in Taurus, and they are both at 13 degrees. So they've moved away from that anaretic degree. That's a good sign as well. The fixed stars, the 15th degree of the fixed stars, are considered the anaretic degree. But it's nice to see that they're moving away. The North Node is moving closer to Uranus, or he is moving closer to the North Node. So, like I said, with money worries and things like that, it could just be that there's a new resource becoming available, he's saying, and that would be something maybe that you zhuzh up from the past, or it could just be, it could be an idea for a book with Mars and Gemini going retrograde, or teaching something that you have to, he's saying, unearth and uncover in your own subconscious, and something innovative, something different. Maybe he's saying a marketing strategy that you have not employed up to now. So keep that in mind as well. It's interesting too that Juno, who we associate a lot with partners, Juno is also stationary direct. And really, so much of the astrology in the past couple of years has been more about couples coming apart more than together. Now, I know people who have come together with a soulmate during this astrology. It doesn't mean it isn't going to happen, but it has pointed more to relationships or structures that we believe were always going to be there, coming down. So what else did I want to talk about with that? Yeah, I've covered all of the. Oh yeah, and then when Saturn stops at 25 of Aquarius, and he's in that harmonious trine, or sorry, he stopped there and then he moved retrograde to 18 and change, where he is now. So that was June 5th. And Mars is kind of reigniting that as he is trine from Gemini that degree. So, he's going to be having that conversation with Saturn loosely, but he's also hitting where Saturn was on June 5th. So, go back to the beginning of June and think of what was going on during the Mercury retrograde. It's not an easy energy by any means. Also look back about 20 years ago and think about what was going on in your life when the nodes were where they are now. But that degree, the 15 degree of Sagittarius at the ascendant, is to manifest what it is that you wish. What would you like to call in? What miracles would you like to see happen in your life? Where he's saying, are you looking for freedom, or where do you believe that you are stuck? And then seeing yourself becoming unstuck, trusting and believing and having hope. And, letting all of the, victimhood kind of stuff go. I mean, that has a lot to do with Scorpio as well, where we can be, it could be an addiction to anything, even a person, but somebody can have us chained up, or something can have us chained up. But yeah, really good. I like to do the new moon ceremony on the day, and then like when you hit the first quarter square, like let's say a week later, make like some kind of forward step. But a lot of this astrology is about going back, coming back to something that was. I'm going to get my courses ready to sell, my Metatron attunement courses. In the first one that we did in 2019, we removed 36 stories. We did an attunement with Metatron, and then we actually could see the higher chakras. I'm not one of those people, when you go to someone, and I mean years ago for me, that tells you like, oh, this happened to you in a past life. I like to witness it. A lot of times people are reading other people's subconscious and telling them like, oh yeah, this person that was bad to you, victimized you in another time. The first time I saw my own real like past life memory for myself. It was a person who had victimized me in this lifetime, and we were brothers and we were very close. And I was able, honestly, to forgive the person because I recognized that they're my soulmate. And then I had to figure out why I chose to have such an awful experience with them in this timeline. It's always the mirror reflecting ourselves back to us. It's not really on the other person. And I'm bringing that up because of Venus, because she rules partners as well. And Mercury is counterparts, and he is in her sign of Libra. So those kinds of things, might be coming up as well. Maybe time to, you don't have to go to the person and have a conversation in order to forgive and to have resolution for it. I did a lot with the person's higher self, and it really was helpful for me. In fact, they gave me a really big gift the following year, which was a huge surprise. But anyway, you guys, it's great to be back with you. And like I said, thanks for all of your inquiries about Bailey. She's doing well. I hope that all of you and yours are doing well as well. Sending you so much love. And I'll be back to talk about the eclipse that we have coming, the full moon eclipse that we have coming on November 8th next week. So much love to you guys. Enjoy your Samhain, your Halloween, and All Saints Day, Day of the Dead. We got a big week coming. All right, everybody, take care. Bye bye.